Hello and welcome to my Alear best build guide. This is one of Alear's best builds, and this is Wyvern Alear. Wyvern Alear has really good growths. So looking at Alear's bases, you're looking at a physical combat units with good growths in HP, strength, dex, speed, defense, and a little bit of build, and respectable growths and everything else. But on Wyvern, you're really doubling down on that by getting 80% HP growth, 55% strength, and dex, and speed, and 60% defense. So you have a lot of health, a lot of defense, good speed, good damage, and you also get 30% luck and res, which is nice because you get a little bit of res. It's enough that it'll reduce incoming magic damage, and combined with your speed, you're not going to be getting doubled. You also get 10% build, which is nice. Now, for weapons, on this loadout, on this build, I would say your primary weapons should be hero weapons, so Folkvanger, Fencelar, Noatan can all be used. I recommend Sword Lance, so you'd run one or the other. I usually run Folkvanger, and I'll go over engraving soon, on Alear, and then Fencelar on Chloe, and have both of them become Wyverns and just dominate the early game. Alternatively, you could run Lances and run this and it's totally fine, and just go like the Lance power route. Like let's say you want Chloe to be a Mage Knight, which is probably optimal for her. Mage Knight or Griffin Knight, Levin Sword Chloe is probably better than Fencelar. So you could run Fencelar as your main weapon and be totally fine and go like the Lance power route. And then for secondary weapons, the Well Lance is an alternative. Everyone gets access to that, so this is a really good solid weapon. It gets like 8 weight once you upgrade it to like +3, which is not too hard to do. So you can get that up if you don't want to use the hero weapons, if you don't have them. Alternatively, you could use like Steel Sword, Silver Sword, to some degree Liberation, but it's kind of questionable because its base damage is quite low. But with Sword Power, you could get away with running it. And then Steel Lance, Silver Lance could also be used. So for secondaries, like these are like your main weapons. And then these 3, Javelin is great for 1 to 2 range, killing, enemy mages, enemy phasing things that hit you at 2 range, 1-rounding certain things at range, extending your reach in general. Armor Slayer is good at +2 to +3. It 1-rounds most armors throughout the entire game, especially on sword power. And then Rider's Bane is very similar. It's, a lance that can deal huge damage to enemy mounted units, like enemies on the calves, enemy cavaliers rather, enemies like horses and wolves. So these are all nice utilities that serve a purpose. You can run Levin Sword, but this is a very physical class. It's going to have low magic, so it's not going to hit very hard. So Javelin's just better in this case because there's no physical sword. And then for alternate weapons, you could do Brave Sword. So Brave Sword, you'd run like Sigurd on it for damage increase, accuracy increase, avoid increase, and weight reduction, so that you can double more consistently, and you would +5 it as soon as humanly possible, and then run Sword Power. You would get Sword Power 1 to 3 as early as possible before you lose it, and then get it back after Chapter 19. So you could consistently double and 1-round things, even without DLC. With DLC, this thing is actually pretty cracked. Same thing with the Brave Lance. You'd run Sigurd on it, specifically Sigurd because it gives you damage increase, which all Braves want, and it also reduces the weight, which is a problem, but not a problem for long, because at 10% build growth, you're looking at 1 build on fixed mode per 10 level up. So if you level up 30 times during a playthrough, you're going to be +3 build. And then on top of the weight reduction, you're going to catch up to the thing's weight and you'll be fine. Worm Slayer is a nice side grade or like optional thing to 1-round enemy worms that are quite tanky generally, or at least hit them very hard if you're too slow. But with this build, I'm going to try to steer you into speed so that you can consistently kill things. All right, so for passives, actually, let's go over engravings now. All right, engravings. So depends on the build, but generally you can run Leaf on either of these. Their weight gets so low that your build will exceed their weight. Like early game, they might be slightly too heavy, like before they're upgraded. They'll be like at your build or slightly above it. But Leaf is really good because then it frees up these to be used on other things. So Leaf on your primary weapon, and then you should not engrave these. These can be left alone. And then if you plan on running a Brave as your primary weapon, I'd recommend Sigurd. Sigurd should be low in priority. Sigurd should be put on this, maybe. Like you can get its build down, its weight down from refining, and then Sigurd would be mostly used on these. And then you can use Marth alternatively, but this is good on these because it increases weight and damage, but does not slow you down because of the reduction in weight as you upgrade. And then this is good on weapons that you don't care about weight fixing, but you just want to increase their damage. So alternatively, you could throw this on the Braves if Sigurd is being used by like a Mage Knight, Chloe, or Anna, for example. And then Lucina is good for dodge tanking or just increasing hit. It reduces damage and weight by 1. So you could run it on these to make yourself more of a dodge tank for minimal downside. But I would say these are your primary engravings for your weapons. All right. For passives, I think these are the best passives on this build. Sword or Lance Power, depending on what you're using. Now, if you're running Fensalar on Lance Power, it has higher base might than Folkvanger, so I'll keep that in mind. If you're running a Brave Sword or Brave Lance, obviously you're going to need the power builds, like the power skills. Canter is really good for repositioning, and then Speed Plus or Speed Taker are really good to consistently double so that you can consistently one round. These are generally going to be the best for most builds because they're just so powerful. All right, middle row, we have Strength Plus. So if you want to run hybrid more, like let's say you have like Folkvanger and you want to get value out of your swords, your Armor Slayers, your Rider's Bane, and your Javelin, Strength Plus is actually good because it increases damage with all of these things, and it also still helps Braves. Not as much though, but it's better for flex builds, so it's worth mentioning. Same thing with Lunar Brace. Lunar Brace can increase damage with all of these, so if you want to run Lunar Brace on like a Brave, that's usually, it's a very common build archetype. Holdout is nice so that you can tank, so if you want to be more aggressive, you want to be more reckless, you want to be able to tank, archers or lethal damage every now and then to be able to tank more than one enemy. On enemy phase, you can get holdout way up there. But I think these should be your priority, and these are like side grades or optional. Well, not even side grades, they're like optional or situational. And then for the bottom row, dual support is really good if you have a bunch of A rank supports near you. You can spike up your avoid. So you would run this with like Lucina on something, like maybe Lucina Fensalar. You could get plus 30 avoid from that, and then plus 20 avoid per A rank. It's like plus 20 to 30 depending on the unit per A rank next to you, and then you could have a bunch of like super dodgy wyverns just flying around. Defense plus isn't bad if you want to go for some tanking, and gentility isn't bad for more like flexible tanking. And also you can flip it to bravery by having the Erica user switch modes at any time, and you can do that, and it doesn't cost, it's not considered an action. And you can also engage with Erica to get both gentility and bravery simultaneously, both of which can be minus 5 damage taken, plus 5 damage dealt. So you can give yourself plus 3 damage at base, or plus 5 damage at the plus version. It's 2 or 3k, so 3k for plus 5 damage on all weapons is not bad, especially if using Braves. So it's an option, and it also works at enemy phase. And then this is just cheap damage reduction if you want to go for more physical tanking. Most enemy bow units are not magical, and you usually can tank like an Excalibur anyways. So if you want to tank more bows or just tank in general, this is like a cheap option. These are definitely the best, these are second best, and these are okay. All right, for emblem rings, I think the best emblem ring on this build is Roy. You get plus 6 strength for free, like if you just have bone level 20, and you get holdout plus plus plus. So you get a ton of damage for all of your weapons. You get a get out of jail free card, and you also can create fire tiles to slow enemies down, AoE hit enemies, which is pretty useful. And you can use, like when you're engaged on Roy, you just get like slightly higher stats, right? So you get plus 5 levels, and on fixed mode, we can actually calculate what that would look like. So that would be 2.5 speed, so you get plus 2 speed, plus 2 defense, plus 2 strength, and I think plus 3 health. So that's actually pretty substantial. Plus 2 damage, plus 2 speed. That's actually, like, in of itself, that's very useful. This is arguably the best one, because if anything hits you, as long as you have more than 2 health and you have holdout plus plus plus, you will not die. So you could, like, fly in, kill an enemy hits you, gets you down to like 20 health, an enemy archer shoots you, or an enemy archer shoots you and gets you down to like 10 health, because you do have high defense on this build, and you usually can tank an archer, weirdly. And then another enemy hits you. So you can tank like 2 to 3 enemies consistently just because of holdout plus plus plus, and on top of your high HP and defense. Ike is also good because he strength fixes, and he also allows you to take half damage, so you can be more aggressive with your positioning. So the way that critical, or that bonus damage from archers works, it's based on their might. So funny enough, most bows don't even have that high of might. So the only things that really deal significant bonus damage to you are radiant bows, which there aren't that many of. So you can actually tank a lot of stuff, including your weakness, especially on Ike. And there's also other things like Ragnell, which gives you +5 defense. There's stuff like Resolve. So Ike in of itself can give you like +5 defense just from equipping him. So let's say you're at like 30 defense, right? Or that's probably too high. Let's say you're at like 25 defense with Ike equipped, right? And enemy hits for like 50 damage. So you take 25 damage. Resolve triggers, like Resolve Plus, you're -7 more damage because that's +7 more defense and res. So now you're taking much less damage just from Resolve. And then if you also have Ragnall, that's +5 more defense, so that's -12. And then if you have half damage, like you can stack all of this stuff to get like absurd damage reduction. And then if also you use Great Aether, you get +5 more defense and res. So you can stack defense on Ike and become like virtually unkillable. And he also improves your strength by default. Like he gives you more strength. So, and he gives you a 2-range sword. So if you want to be on sword power, like Folkvanger Armor Slayer, you can pull out Ragnall, and if you want a 2-range sword, you can enemy phase with. And he has the best availability out of all of these. Chapter 13. Well, maybe not compared to these two, but you get him really quick. So a flying Ike tank is a thing. You can be very aggressive with it, and it's very fun. All right, Sigurd is really good because you get build increase, which can situationally help, but mostly you get +1 move, you get Canter Plus for free, and you get override, and you get momentum damage. So you get quite a lot of everything. You get better movement, better repositioning, better pizza papa. you get repositioning for free. You get huge override damage and you get momentum, and you get canter. So you get like all this stuff. I'm sorry, the +1 move. You get all this stuff and very few units. Like this is like a low competition thing. Like not every unit wants Sigurd. Basically, just dive units want Sigurd, and you only really have like 2 to 3 of those on a team. But very solid option, very good. You get him at the end of chapter 17, so it's still like middle game. And then Lucina is really good if you run flyer squad. Like let's say you run like Ivy, Hortensia, Marin, and Kagetsu on flyer or something like that in Chloe. Like if you have a bunch of flyers, this is really good because you can bonded shield 100% success rate with all your flyers. It also increases your speed, so it helps speed fix. So if you're running like Fencelar or Noatan with like Lance Power 2 to 3, even early middle game, because you can get those pretty quickly. You can cause your units to tank. You can have a flying tank thing. This is like what I did in my first maddening run. It was very effective, so it's pretty solid. This is also not like super highly contested. Erica is nice just for Lunar Brace for free, and when you engage, you also get some healing on initiation. You get the Lunar Brace, you get Gentility and Bravery plus, so you get +5 damage. So you also take -5 damage by default with Lunar Brace mode. So you have Lunar Brace, and then you take -5 damage from all sources. And when you flip, you get healing or +5 damage. So you can either do armor penetration or just +5 damage, and the +5 damage works on enemy phase, which can be relevant. And alternatively, when you engage, you get Lunar Brace and +5 damage, -5 damage, and the 20% healing. So you get quite a lot from this. Now, she does increase magic stat, but this is really good on physical units, in spite of that. Honestly, it seems to be better on physical units than magical units. And Twin Strike can also one-round most things pretty consistently, so that's pretty solid as well. On Lyn, there's a few nice things about Lyn. The first thing, so let's say you have another flying unit using Bonded. You can have this unit be your Bonded shield, like a non-Alear, and then your Alear can be on Lyn for getting Speed Taker and Speed Plus for free, and then you can run different passives, or even still just run Speed Plus and whatever you need. But the nice thing about this is you can pull a bow out and shoot down enemy flyers. Same thing with Lucina. You can pull out Parthia. Shooting down enemy flyers is nice because a lot of times, even with like Speed Taker and Speed Plus, they're too fast, like very late game to double anyways. And being able to just pull a bow out and shoot them down in one hit is really useful. You can Astra Storm them as well. You can create clones. I'm pretty sure you can create clones on anything as long as it's not impassable as a flyer. So you can create like clones in weird spots to like body block other flyers from coming in, or just to like, you know, draw enemies away from your team. And there's all these funny tactics you can use with flyers and Lyn clones. But you have that, so you have the speed taking. Really, it's just to make your unit a hard carry. Because this is like such a highly contested emblem, I put it last, because I'd rather promote the things that are just as effective that no one really wants or fewer things want, so that way you don't feel like you have to use this. But this is really good on any hard carry main killing unit. And then of course Martha's really good on this build, but you get him so late that he's low in priority, because all of these, like these 4, are very accessible early middle game to middle game. And then Roy is like as you enter the end game, but this is a very good thing. Like hold out +++ for free and strength increase, and then the speed damage increase you get from engaging is really cracked. And I think people undervalue Roy. And same thing with like Sigurd and Ike. Like you can dive with Wyverns pretty effectively. But that's it for this one. Overall, this is potentially Alear's best combat build, if not one of the best. Like, it's at least one of the best, because you deal so much damage, you have really good bases as you level up, and you can completely trivialize the early and middle game, and to some degree the end game, with builds like this. So, yeah, definitely feel free to like and subscribe or become a channel member. We do have a live stream that is Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. EST to 2 p.m. EST, and I'm starting to do like art streams at just random times. I might have like a scheduled time for those as well, but stuff later on is kind of harder to plan. But yeah, thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next one.